Om Shanti.
It is wonderful to welcome Taz Thornton, the UK Breakthrough Coach, Women's Best Coach of the Year winner. Thank you so much for being a part of this special Ask the Author series for the book Magic and Miracles.
Thank you for inviting me. It's always a pleasure. Always.
We have so much fun when we get together, and I'm excited because today we do get to really go into the land of true magic, which is what you live in full time. You live in this magical world of, tapping into energy and speaking to animals and all sorts of good stuff. So let's just jump into it, because I love the story that you shared in the book Magic and Miracles, a miracle in the wild. You mentioned that you have since childhood had this connection to wolves, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Way back. I mean, when I was very, very small, I remember that I was having what at the time I believed were nightmares, where these wolves, there were other animals as well, but wolves were really kind of predominant in these dreams, to the point where I remember one of my mum's friends sitting me down with a kind of wildlife book. And of course, I'm in the UK. We don't have wolves here anymore. We hunted them out. And I remember her sitting down with this book and showing me a picture of a fox and a picture of a wolf and saying, "You don't have wolves over here." I shouldn't have known what a wolf was when these dreams were coming.
Right.
But they've always been there.
Isn't that interesting? And so do you think that we each have a totem animal or some sort of a connection, or is it just you?
Yeah, no, I think we all do. I mean, there are all kinds of different theories across the kind of indigenous global sphere in terms of totem animals, power animals, spirit animals, whatever we want to call them. And, some cultures believe that we have loads of different animal helpers. Some believe we have lots of different ones, but one real power animal. And some believe you have just one, and some believe that you have just that one, and the bond is so powerful and strong because you've been that animal in a former life. So whenever I'm kind of teaching people in this kind of world, I said, well, I'm not going to tell you what to think. These are all the different theories. It's up to you how that sits. The way it's turned out with me is wolf is my big, strong power animal, but I have lots of other allies as well who come in for different reasons. But wolf is the one that's been there since before I should have known what a wolf was.
Wow. Well, you talk about in the book, Magic and Miracles, that you visited a different continent where there are wolves. Tell us about that experience.
Well, Canada is one of my favorite places to visit. That's kind of my second home. If I was going to move anywhere thus far, it will be over to Canada. And there'd been a couple of bizarre happenings that day. Well, they're not bizarre to me, but in the same way that, you've just talked about this world I live in all the time that's magic. For me, it's just the world.
It's just the world.
It just is. It just is magic. There's so many things that we see as nature, for me, that they're magical. It's just that we've lost touch with that star child energy that allows us to see things in a different way. And one of the other creatures I've worked with for a while is hummingbird, and that had come to me in a dream many years ago. And I got to this point with my shamanic work where I was, stop giving me all these creatures that aren't from where I'm from. I would love to give me a swan where I can go and find a feather, and I do. And I've tracked back, and most of the animals I work with, if you look back far enough, were indigenous to these shores at one point. So that it's a head mind thing, but that kind of makes it sit easier with me. And anyway, hummingbird had come in. And we'd been out backtracking this one day on horseback, which is another story, because bless my wife Asha hates being on horseback. It was part of the bargain. Every time we go, we add another hour onto the horseback track. So I think it was a 1 or a 2 hour trek. And we've been talking about whether hummingbirds were native to Canada. We had no idea, typical ignorant Brit. And part way through the trek, all of a sudden there was a little rustle from the bushes at one side, and this hummingbird flew out, and I kid you not, it hovered right in front of my face, and it felt like hours. In reality, it was probably seconds. But when that other magical thing happens and time slows down, and there it was, my hummingbird, and not just any hummingbird, but the exact variety that I'd been dreaming of was there in front of my face solidly. So that was the first wow. And then later on in that holiday, we were in Banff in the Rockies, and we took a walk down by this place called the Cavan Basin, which has kind of when you get the boardwalks through the forests, and we were down there. You know when you get that sense that something is watching you, just that. I felt that, and Ash had walked ahead. And as I walked across the boardwalk, there was a lake, and then the forest was at the other side. And I just kept getting this sense, and I stood still and just kind of willed, okay, whatever it is, if there's something watching me, step forward. And then I peered across, and there were these two yellow eyes. I thought, it can't be. It can't be. And it was. And this grey wolf stepped forward, and I felt this heart connection. It's not just like peering at an animal in a zoo or a wildlife park. There was this real thread, heart to heart. Bang!
Wow.
A luminous thread connecting us. And I walked up, and it stopped, and we walked back. And this happened several times. We'd literally just stop, look at each other, and walk back the other way together. And we walked back down toward the beginning of the trail, and the wolf stopped, and I just got this knowing. Sometimes you get words dropping in, sometimes you just get a sense, sometimes there's this knowing, and there was just this deep knowing that you need to leave now. And I stood, and it walked away. It went back into the forests. And I called out to Ash. She looked like, well, what? I'm over here exploring. What are you doing? And she came to me, we walked out of the park, and as we started to walk out of the park, all the park rangers started to flood in. And one of the bears with a cub had wandered down into the public area.
Wow.
And they were flooding the space to try and evacuate everyone. Because, mama bears. So, I don't know, there's lots of different ways to interpret that story and what happened. People might say it's coincidence. I don't believe in coincidence. I haven't for many, many years. Some people might think it was stalking me for something to eat. Don't think so. I'm a bit gristly and a bit too much fat on me, I should think, for a good feast. But my sense was that there was a connection there. It was a physical meeting of a power animal spirit, and it guided me out of danger. Took me out of the way. And yeah.
That is so amazing.
It blows my mind now.
It blows my mind too, because to get that message of, it's time for you to go.
Yeah.
Not that the threat was coming from the wolf, but it was just telling you it's time.
Stop.
I think that's incredible. There's so many other people in this book who communicate with animals. They hear animals. They can contact the soul of animals. Do you think that there's something that we each could access? Or what do you think are the most accessible ways for us to bring more magic into our lives? Like, I believe, like you, there are no coincidences. I don't even call them synchronicities anymore. I call them synchro-destinies. It's like,
I love that.
It's like people who come into our lives, they come for a reason. And I feel like there's probably some ability that we can enhance to appreciate these occurrences, to be more in tune with them, to get those messages. Because you obviously, you're on this path, you've been doing shamanic work, so you're tuned, right? I feel like you're probably tuned. What else can we do to get there?
I think we've all been there. I think we all have it when we're born. And I think that we are gradually conditioned to close that down. So it's like when we hear stories of people who've seen a spirit and then they look back and it's not there. And I find myself thinking, has it really disappeared? Or has your brain just kicked in and gone, don't be ridiculous? And then you lose the ability to see it. It just shuts down.
Yeah.
I think we all have it. And I think in the same way that there's this theory, isn't there, that animals and young children see spirit. And we can see that. You take a young child into a place that is reputedly haunted or a bit energetic, or there's lots of fey energy and things are bouncing around, and they'll be looking at things that most of us don't.
Yeah.
And for me, a lot of that comes back to this star child energy I talk about. And I think if we could all practice and allow ourselves to bring that energy back up, I think we'd be more aware. There's all kinds of different paths up the same mountain, whether it's shamanism, whether it's Reiki, whether it's working with angels or the Fae or Buddhism, all kinds of, it all leads to the same place. So there are a couple of keys. Meditate, regularly. And I don't just mean plugging into Headspace and listening to somebody telling you that you're going to manifest stacks of £50 notes or whatever your chosen currency may be. That's switching off, but it's still not tapping into the heart. It's not tapping into Star Child. There are too many meditations out there that tick the left brain box. They guide us into chilling out in the brain, but there's still head-heart disconnect. So what do I mean by Star Child? Well, when we talk about archetypes, if we're talking about the female form, for instance, we have there's child, and then we're going to the goddess, maiden, mother, crone. But there's more. For me, I add into this, and this comes through my shamanic work. There's also there's the wounded child, which is the element of ourselves that holds on to all the difficulties and the woundings and the pain and the scars. And then there's the little child that's just innocence. We come through as blank canvas, just innocence. But it's Star Child that I believe we condition ourselves to let go of the most. And the Star Child is the element of ourselves that still sees the wonder in everything. And the way I always describe this to people, because it's something that everyone will relate to, when you see a puppy and it goes outside for the first time and it's like, oh man, there's a blade of grass. Wow, another blade of grass. Oh my God, another blade of grass. Grass everywhere. And we just trample over grass. And that puppy's like, oh, it's amazing. That encapsulates Star Child energy for me. We see the magic in everything. We don't just go, oh wow, it's too bright today, the sun's shining. Well, wow, look at those rays of beautiful healing light pouring down onto us. We don't just say, oh shit, we just lost a client. We go, okay, why has that happened? What door is about to open for us? We don't just say, oh, I have a chronic illness. We go, okay, what is this here to teach us? Why have I manifested this? What's it about? What can I learn from it? How can I transcend? How can I move through? We don't. There are people in the world who have a problem for every solution. And that is the biggest key that we have lost Star Child. There's a massive chunk of people who live by cynicism, and cynicism kills the Star Child. And I think that's what we need to bring up. But as adults, we go into this funny space, don't we, where we go into the grown-up world. And in order to be a grown-up, we need to be serious. We need to stop having fun with our work, because if we're enjoying it, it's not work.
It's also the same with spirituality, right?
Of course.
Like a lot of us, I know I used to be that way. I need to be very serious now that I'm on this spiritual path. Ceremony
for ceremony's sake. I wrote a blog on that a while back called Spiritual Arseholery. Sometimes, we get onto the spiritual, my dog agrees.
Exactly.
Spiritual path, and we stick our heads so firmly into our root chakra that we stop being able to see the beauty. We forget to walk lightly, and we keep taking ourselves too seriously. We're killing a Star Child, and that's what it's about. Whether we are walking a spiritual, actually we're all walking a spiritual existence. We don't all recognize it. Whatever our life path, we need to walk lightly, and we need to stop taking life so seriously and so literally as well.
And do you think that the shamanic path has helped you in that regard? That, by the shamanic path, I mean, I haven't studied a lot of shamanism, but there's so much symbolism, and there's so much awareness of how we as souls or spiritual energy change form. So if we're so busy being so attached to this earthly human form, we do lose that connection to the essence of what life could be.
Yeah, we do. Absolutely, this path has helped me. But again, it could have been any path. It's just that because I was so aware and seeing and sensing things from such a young age, this was the path that called me most. And if I look at the path of shamanism as we as human beings have interpreted it, it's not always a perfect fit, but it's the nearest path that feels home to me. Animism, I guess, at the heart of all things. So this belief that everything has an energy is the real home, and the closest structured, I say in inverted, not that structured path I've found is shamanism. And it's going to be different. And again, it doesn't matter which path calls us. It's about being able to surrender to that calling. And I resisted for a long time. And, you know, we've spoken before about my breakdown that I see as my breakthrough. I believe that cracked me open enough for all the stuff that wasn't serving me to flood out, for me to allow myself to let go of it, and for me to bring in what I needed. And that was allowing more of the stuff that we call magic in, which for me is magical, but it ain't magic. It's just the stuff that surrounds us every day that we don't see in that way.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's about being open.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you're bringing another aspect or dimension to how we can access the magic, the synchronicity, the divine, whatever you want to call that soul essence that is in and around everything.
And isn't that something else we get caught up on? It doesn't matter what you call it.
Exactly. Yeah.
It doesn't matter whether you call it the universe or God or Allah or Buddha or wolf. It doesn't matter what you call it. It just is. And we need to stop looking for the division and start finding the similarities.
Indeed.
The lights there. Yeah.
Indeed. Well, folks, you can connect with Taz online. She's on all the social media channels and also online at tazthornton.com. You can also check out other interviews that we've done around her breakdowns to breakthroughs, her book, Unleash Your Awesome. So, Taz, I also know you've got some upcoming projects, plural, between your next TEDx, between your next book around these channeled messages, as well as a project around flipping your negatives.
Yeah.
What are you excited about for the upcoming year in your world?
Oh, wow, I have to choose. Andrea, that's not fair.
You can put them in order.
Okay. There's so much coming up. So there's a follow-up book to Unleash Your Awesome, which is Stop Moaning, Start Owning. There's a follow-up book to Whispers from the Earth, which is ingeniously titled More Whispers from the Earth. There's this project you and I are working on, which is going to be amazing, which is all about authenticity and personal brand and bringing all this magic into your business. There's the flipping your negatives thing. I've been talking about that for a while, and it taps directly into that star child energy again.
Yeah.
Because it's about looking at things that life gifts us with in a different way. You know, life doesn't happen to us. Life happens for us. And it's about being able to look at all those things in our lives that we perceive as being negative and viewing them in a different way. So, okay, what did that teach me? So, for instance, I talk about the time when I went through some pretty severe domestic abuse. And so many people I speak to say, well, don't you hate the man who did that? No, I don't. In fact, there was a soul contract somewhere. I'm grateful that happened, because if I hadn't been through that, I wouldn't be able to serve and support and encourage other people in the same way. So, for instance, I'm about to go into some talks with a big charity called Mind over here that works with people with mental health issues. And I've worked with local authorities before to run a special version of my Unleash Your Awesome Empowerment program for people who've been through domestic abuse. And I'm just about to start talking to Mind about working with them to open that project up further, because what happens is in the system, we can give people some counselling, we can get people out of that situation into a safe house, but then there's nothing to rebuild those people and to give them that sense of self and that sense of confidence again, so that even if you look at it from a kind of materialistic point of view, to get them back into being productive members of society. You know, whatever I need to do to sell that, to be able to take that to a wider audience. So that's one example for me of flipping my negatives. If I hadn't been through that, I couldn't deliver that in the same way. You know, we can look at all kinds of things. I can look at this, you know, the medics tell me I have a 25% chance of developing Huntington's disease. Well, 0.1, that means there's a 75% chance of me being absolutely fine. Thank you very much. But that fear, that sword of Damocles, started hanging over my head at precisely the time where I was starting to dip, and I really needed a kick up the backside. There's nothing like having something like that waved over your head to get you back up and out from under that duvet and being productive again. There's always a way. I said earlier, you lose a client. Hasn't happened to me for a while. Let's not call that. But then instead of going, oh, woe is me, okay, how can I learn from that? How could I make that different? What doors are about to open? What is that clearing the way for? My breakdown, if I hadn't had it, we wouldn't be talking now, most probably.
Yeah.
Your negatives. Flip them.
I love it. I love it because it's all this mind expansion that you're bringing to us to look at the world differently, look at our experiences differently, and
not just mind but heart. It's because we have this head-heart disconnect. We're becoming heads dragging around bodies. And again, even if you go left brain, we know now, science tells us we have neurological processes in the heart and in the gut. It's not just about this, guys.
Right.
Open this to enable yourselves to access your heart, your gut, the entirety of your being. This is an earth suit. It's a skin suit. What's inside it? Why on earth would we want to use just this little bit?
Right. I love it. Well, I could sit here and talk to you all day.
Me too.
I'm so grateful for you, Taz. I'm so grateful that you're also a part of our Real Self-Love movement as one of our Real Self-Love leaders. Again, check out Taz online on all the social media channels and her pups, her beautiful rescue dogs and cats. So visit her at TazThornton.com and pick up a copy of the book, Magic and Miracles. And you can also read her story in our other book, Life After Trauma, and check out that interview as well. Thank you.
Thank you for you.
I'm just doing my part in this world.
Me too.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Did you enjoy that interview? I sincerely hope so. Please get a copy of the book so you can read her story and share this video with someone who needs a little positivity and magic sprinkled into their life. If you know someone or if you yourself have experienced a magical miracle manifestation in your life and you'd like to share it, or any other story of resilience and living life on your own terms, check out our publishing options at makeyourmarkglobal.com. Until I see you again, my friend, please know that you are a gift to the world. So share your presence with passion. Much love.